What's good, peeps? Thanks as always for passing by the channel, much appreciated. Hit that subscribe button if you guys are new. Don't forget as well, please, to like and share the videos. Thank you to everybody who has been getting involved so far. Alright, we had a good weekend of boxing this weekend, didn't we? Canelo Alvarez versus Callum Smith. I was excited for this fight, I really was. Great fight, dominating performance from Canelo, man, absolutely brilliant. But I do want to give some kudos to Callum Smith, as he did come to fight. He threw some beautiful hooks, but Canelo was just too much for him. He really was. Canelo looked sharp, focused, he controlled the whole fight. His pressure was incredible from start to finish. I had round one even, but then I gave Callum two more rounds. I gave him rounds 5 and 6. So I think I gave him 3 rounds overall. Other than that, it was literally the Canelo show, because he really did want to make it his night. This is my night. I am going to become a 4-weight world champion, and I'm going to do it in style. This version of Canelo, like I've said before, is now complete. Like he as soon as he took his top off, he looked like you knew he was ready. He's built like a tank. You know, he's strong, he's sturdy, but defensively he's brilliant. He's good enough to take punches and has immense power. And he really wanted to make a statement. He nearly got Callum out of there in the 9th. I, watching that, thought that his corner were actually going to throw in the towel in the 9th round, but they didn't. Also, did you see the state of Callum's arm? He tore his bicep like during the fight, and his entire left arm up here, it was like mangled, completely deformed. So I think he couldn't fully extend it, which is why I think he went for hooks rather than jabs. But man, Canelo looked scary in that fight. He had everything. His feints were just another level, especially that one in the 9th, I think it was, where he like threw the jab, faked the right hand, and then came up with an uppercut. It's just brilliant, beautiful boxing. But credit to Callum for taking it, for showing how tough he was. He could have easily just waved the fight off after that, you know, injury. And he wasn't like a Fielding or Kovalev, because Fielding went there for a payday. Kovalev was absolutely washed compared to what we're used to seeing him. But you could see Callum trying to establish his jab in the first round, but the pressure was just too much for him. He tried, but Canelo was just a different animal. He is as mean as they get. This Canelo at 168 is nothing short of a menace. Like, there was some real spite in those punches that he was throwing in that fight. There's a photo of him landing one literally on top of the torn bicep on Canelo's left arm, as if he knew that it was damaged, like some animal in the wild. Scary, frightening. And the most remarkable thing about Canelo as well, when you think about it, he's now turned himself into the best defensive boxer in the world. But the thing is, 5 years ago, defense was his weakness. Now he's turned himself into the most complete package and an all-time great, a legit 4-weight world champion. And for me, needs to be in the conversation as one of the greatest Mexican boxers of all time. Like, for me, he's up there with Marquez and Chavez in what they achieved. So there will have to be a serious conversation on where Canelo ranks. And potentially, you know, he's the best of this era. If we think we are in the post-Floyd Mayweather era, the one name which sticks out above the rest is Canelo. Like, I know some people might say Andre Ward, but for me, Canelo's just gone to new heights. All in all, it was a great fight. I really enjoyed it. What next for Canelo now? Seeing as he's ditched Oscar De La Hoya, and rightly so, he's now become this kind of mercenary for hire, so he can basically fight on whichever platform he wants, which is really good. It's very kind of like free in that. I noticed he was kind of trolling Eddie after the fight, going like, who's next? And then Hearn was just like, he'll clean up 168 or 160 in no time, which I think Canelo should stay at 160. I just think bigger fights are for him there. I know Caleb Plant has the 168 IBF belt, which he might fancy, because I think Canelo is just after big fight after big fight, trophy after trophy at this point. I like Plant. He's a nice guy, but I think Canelo will run through him like a hot knife through butter. I really do. And after that, who knows? It depends on what Billy Joe gets up to, because he's got the WBO belt. It depends if Golovkin comes up, or if Charlo. I know Charlo's spoken about going up from 154 and going up to 160. Maybe Canelo will go down and fight him. Who knows? Speaking of GGG, he also had a fight the weekend against Seremeta. His IBF mandatory. I mean, there's not too much to talk about in this fight because it is mandatory after all, and GGG dominated every round. Put him down in the first, second, fourth and seventh round. So I think it's kind of, it's not the most important fight, but what I will say though is GGG did look very good. And I don't know whether that was because he'd made improvements, because we know he has improved some things under Jonathan Banks, such as his strength and conditioning and diet, and probably his boxing ability as well. But was it that, or was it the fact that the opposition was so poor? Because at the end of the day, this Seremeta kid, I looked at him and it was just like, he hasn't really fought anyone of note that I've heard of anyway. But either way, I'm going to try and be more positive about it and give Triple G some kudos, because I do like him. He's one of my favourite fighters. His jab was very good. He established that early on. He was moving his head a bit more, which I liked. He brought his usual pressure, because he's known as a very good pressure fighter. But he mixed in some defensive movements as well, which is not normally normal for him. So that was good. And overall, you know, it's Triple G, man. The guy's a monster. You know, he's probably one of the... He's another one who'll be in conversation for one of the greatest middleweight fighters of all time. You know, 21 defences he's had, you know, which is a new record. I think Bernard Hopkins had the last one of 20. So, you know, if that's what he's achieved, he needs to be in contention for one of the best middleweights of all time. I just want to see him go up in weight, man. I want to see him at 168. I think 160, he's kind of done with it now. Just get rid of that IBF belt, get yourself up to 168, because he said he was open to fighting the winner of Smith versus Canelo, which, look, who am I to say no? But for me, he hasn't done enough to earn that yet. He needs to do more. For me, he needs to fight Billy Joe, because Billy Joe's got the WBO belt. If he fights Billy Joe and beats him, gets that WBO belt, then get the trilogy fight with Canelo, because Canelo said, like, yeah, I'm not fighting Triple G again unless he brings something. If Canelo wants to do what I think he wants to do, which is clean up 168, he'll fight Caleb Plant, and then if Triple G fights Billy Joe, and the winner of that, whoever the winner of that is, gets Canelo, so he can literally clean up 168, and then who knows, maybe Canelo will be up to 175 or back down to 160. I will say though, Canelo at 175 is a bit more sluggish. 168, he didn't have any of that. He just looked like an absolute beast. So, and also, nothing tells me, right? I know people have said, oh, Billy Joe will school Canelo. Stop it. Stop it. Nothing tells me that Billy Joe can cause any damage to Canelo or Golovkin at 168. Especially considering he struggled to beat a guy that wasn't even in the top 40. You know, so calm down, people, calm down. So my choices would be those: Canelo versus Caleb Plant, maybe in his usual, he usually fights in May, doesn't he, Canelo? So in May. Billy Joe versus Golovkin, you know, March, April, maybe, and then have the unification at 168, Canelo and Golovkin, the trilogy fight later on, 2021, next year. Well, that'll be my choice anyway. Let me know what you guys think. Peace.